Electromagnetic hypersensitivity is apparently a dressed up way of saying, hey, I'm allergic to Wi-Fi. It's also probably not real. But hey, still got a page on Wikipedia though. If you're like me, Wikipedia is a sort of time waster. My brain will get wind of a new, potentially interesting thing, and next thing I know, I'm on that thing's wiki page. I'm flying through the letters on the screen faster than gay people do with acronyms. That kind of thing has even led to a video here and there, like the time I talked about nuclear near misses. The thing is, when you've got this modern Library of Alexandria, the biggest collection of information in the history of the world, eventually someone is going to come across some weird stuff that they have to write weird things about. Stuff like the gunpowdered mousetrap, which was patented in 1882. It sounds like something the Home Alone kid would make if you gave him an R rating to work with. I really thought I'd have to ask y'all for the weirdest wiki pages you found for this video, but nope, it turns out Wikipedia does that on their own. They are really that thorough with record keeping. They have an article about unusual articles the same way we have unusual memes Twitter accounts. There's a whole category for posts considered, and I quote, humorous and not meant to be taken seriously. They put those disclaimers at the top of those pages like it's an SCP info hazard. If you enjoy this vid and want to hear about some of the silly and goofy nuclear close calls we've almost had, there will be this big card at the end that takes you to that video. Also, less than 20% of y'all are subscribed with notifications on. If you sub and hit that bell icon, you'll never miss a video, and you can always undo it later. The polar bear jail, referred to it by the feds who run it as the Polar Bear Holding Facility, is classified as an actual prison in Canada, where particularly naughty meaning lethal, polar bears get shoved into solitary confinement. I think the funniest part of the article is that they call the jail a special building. It's like the person who wrote this sees the building as a holy site. They just revere it for its supernatural ability to hold polar bears. Either that or the person who made Polar Bear Baby Jail also got to write the article about it. So the writer was able to just have a good time suckling their own butthole, going off like, hey guys, look at this cool thing I found. I bet the guy who made this very special building is a very special guy. This next one is meta, but it is still really silly that it happened. Scots Wikipedia is the Scots language wiki, and it has around 40,000-ish articles. Yeah, well, it turns out half of them were complete dog shit because they were written by somebody who has no idea how to speak Scots. This came up around like mid-2020 when Scots speaking folk noticed it and said, hey, this is really bad. What idiot wrote this? So Wiki had to revamp that entire catalog and nay baby almost all the articles that one editor wrote out of existence. I imagine even the articles that survived this virtual book burning still had to be edited loads, and after the edits, they're probably completely different. Theses a ship and all that. It's obviously good that someone found this, eventually, after 15 years of letting it sit there, but in that meantime, how many people thought they were the dumb ones because they couldn't understand a wiki article they were reading? It happens with me when I read English wiki pages. I'm just pretty sure the words I don't know are still real ones. The uncertainty over this kind of made me have to get away from it all. Speaking of, I did once have a great vacation at the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Lake. That's not a local nickname or story made up to get kids to stay away from the place. That used to be its actual legal name. It was like that because the lake was owned by the South Carolina Department of Mental Health and was just geographically near a treatment center for those with addiction issues. Other than that, it's just a normal-ass lake. Unfortunately, the old, very funny name was changed to the new, very lame name. It's called Village Lake now, which is fair, I guess, but come on, man. The other one made me laugh, and I never do that anymore. For the first time in a while, it got me to giggle like an elementary schooler saying shit for the first time. Awful transition, but have y'all ever heard of an anal wink? If you've ever beaten your schmeat, then I reckon you've had that sensation at some point in your life, and if not, then I've accidentally overshared something bad. Whoever got to formally name it the anal wink, though, was absolutely messing with us. Let me try and describe this in medical terms. I told you, I'm not smart enough to reword this for pea-brains like us. I can only quote the page. An anal wink is the reflexive contraction of the external anal sphincter upon stroking of the skin around the anus. Sphincter! It's a funny word, okay? People who said I'd hate potty humor when I grew up were just liars, huh? Unfortunately, saying butthole in a bunch of different ways is still awesome. And hey, while we're talking about how humans work and stuff, let's see some of what Wikipedia has to say about humans. The thing is, it does not feel like a human is saying it at all. Let me just read you this one passage. It's a bit long, but I promise you will agree with me by the end. Humans, Homo sapiens, are the most abundant and widespread species of primates, characterized by bipedalism and exceptional cognitive skills due to a large and complex brain. If it has no feathers and is bipedal, it's a human. This has enabled the development of advanced tools, culture, and language. Humans are highly social and tend to live in complex social structures. One's composed of many cooperating and competing groups, from families and kinship networks to political states. Social interactions between humans have established a wide variety of values, social norms, and rituals, each of which bolster human society. Its desire to understand and influence the environment and to explain and manipulate phenomena have motivated humanity's development of science, philosophy, mythology, religion, and other fields of study. Sorry for that long excerpt, but I felt like you needed to hear the whole thing. This is my #1 issue of 2023 after all. How will non-humans perceive humans? It probably won't be alien researchers who are looking to abduct some folks to to put in a space zoo, but I'm sure an AI we make out there will have some shit to say about how we behave. And yeah, the article called us an it. I know that's what some people prefer for themselves, more power to them, but that's the first time it's happened to me. I had no idea it would make me feel this small and insignificant. This next one is heartbreaking and also about chickens. This next one is heartbreaking and also about chickens. Back when those birds were chilling on Noah's Ark playing drinking games with the other animals to pass the times, those featherheads had to have pulled the shortest stick ever, and that stick was also covered in shit. Because they have their own section on the unusual articles page that's completely about unusual things about or done to them. Mostly done to them. They keep taking L's. For most, that just means turning into chicken nuggets, but some have their corpses used more creatively. A chicken gut is essentially a bird test dummy for planes. Just instead of dummies, they use real dead birds. First built in 1942, people still launch all sorts of bird corpses at aircraft to see how it handles the type of high-speed crashes with live birds they'll actually have in the air. The only reason it's called the chicken gun is because that's the bird used as a bullet the most often. It's actually been used for some notable things, go figure. When the Boeing 757 was still being designed, the cockpit actually got reinforced because of a chicken launched at it. It turns out that one of those things hitting the glass at 410 miles per hour can actually break through it. I'm honestly just shocked that this is a method still used today. It's just a bird corpse launcher. Sounds like one of those 19th to early 20th century experiments people were doing back then. Ones where they would literally try any dumb idea specifically because they had no idea what they were doing. Oh, here's a channel favorite. Be sure to run for your lives. The wiki page for male pregnancy. It says in real life it's something that only seahorses do, but we are not here for science. We're here for one section specifically, male pregnancy in pop culture. That section is longer than the rest of the article combined. It has so many examples in there, like that one Ben 10 episode where Ben gave birth to alien children, even dating back to some of the first mentions of male pregnancy in fiction. There are a lot of mentions of individual original works that include mpreg, but the part that surprises me, even hurts my feelings a little bit, is that fanfic, the place where this shit is represented the most, only gets a shitty little wiki editor afterthought at the very bottom of the page. The entire Omegaverse gets one lone mention. Even a casual mpreg consumer could tell you that ABO dynamics are the bedrock of mpreg fiction as a whole. The Scots had a bone to pick with Wikipedia, and so do I. Except I think this blunder on Wikipedia's part is much less of an accident. My theory is that Wikipedia is jealous. You see, Wiki asks for donations to keep it up and running. You've definitely seen that banner at the top of wiki pages where they read like a child beggar in the 1920s, just going, "Oh, please sir, just spare $1 is all." I don't know why I made them British. And the way they talk about it sounds like they're always struggling to meet their goals. Well, on the flip side, another community-funded literature site is Archive of Our Own, or AO3. It's a place for mostly fanfiction and, you guessed it, most of the mpreg literature ever made. When AO3 asks for donos, they pass their funding goals within days of announcing it. They do that every single time without fail, and then they go on to double and triple or more what they initially asked for because people want to see this thing live on. I think Wikipedia desperately wants what they have, and this is just their petty jealousy peeking out of their fake friendly smile showing it. That was a long-ass segment, so let's keep this moving. Rap/package rage is that feeling you get when you keep failing the QuickTime event to open a package. Y'all know the one. Clamshells are the #1 offender in this department. You can cut your hands on the edges scissors make when you try to cut them open, and opening them in general is essentially a shortcut to early arthritis. Not to mention, it just makes you feel like a failure. After that whole excerpt earlier about how humans are the dominant species and we've done all these great things, all that, and I still can't peel the wrapper back on this ready meal. It makes me feel more pathetic than anything. Simply being seen doing the shit is dehumanizing. Goofing off is notable for a specific example of when Nero was fiddling around, probably stimming or something. I bet he's neurodivergent ADHD like me. I'm a Nero Kenny. And he was just lazing around while the city of Rome was burning to the ground. Trout tickling. Probably the best name out of anything we've seen today. If you rub the underbelly of a trout in just the right way, it will go into a trance after like a minute, and then it's super easy to pick them up and throw them on dry land so you can use it for whatever nefarious purpose later. Please not a fish light. Please not a fish job. And of all the places I'd thought I'd see the use of psychological warfare, fishing was the last on my list. And you know what? That's on me. It probably shouldn't have been. The 52 Hertz whale, or 52 Blue, is basically the incel of whales. Not because it has a bad personality or did anything bad, but because nobody knows what species it is, and nobody has found another one who's on its level. Like, literally, this is the only whale that screams its bloody heart out at a frequency of 52 Hertz. We've been hearing the whale try to get an answer for its dead-end booty calls since the 1980s. They nicknamed this poor fella the world's loneliest whale, and like, how fucking mean is that, man? He is already having some of the shittiest times anybody can go through. That being said, there is still hope, because there's potentially a recording of a second 52 Hertz whale. Knock on wood and maybe something good will come out of it. Clocky has got to be one of the cutest entries here, at least until you actually have to to put up with his shit. Clucky is an alarm clock with wheels, so essentially a roided up G.I. Joe toy, and it hides itself whenever it goes off, so the owner has to get up and hunt down that poor little robot that it currently wants to smash to pieces. That seems like a pretty straightforward concept on its own. It's a neat idea and probably has a solid market, but you're probably thinking it's not super mind-melting or jaw-dropping. Well, that's until you find out it won a fucking Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, I guess, why not at this point, honestly? Rumpology, or bottom reading, weird, that's what people called me when they heard I read fanfiction, is a pseudoscience that says you can tell what kind of person someone is by the details of their ass cheeks. I personally think this was made up by some dickweeds back in the day trying to think of a way to get paid to feel up on people's cheeks. I don't know the origins, but the premise in general just seems a little, schemy. And to that point, let's hear some of what they say a person's cheek details can tell you about them. Some say a round ass means you're happy and optimistic about life, which is just not true off the bat because I have some of the roundest, juiciest cheeks you'll see in your life, and every day still feels like a trudge towards my doom. And on the other side, they say if you have a flat bum, then you are negative and sad. It basically boils down to the current social standard of big ass good, no ass weak. They also say that your ass crack is connected to the division of the two hemispheres of your brain. So yeah, believe in this shit as much as you'd like, I guess. I've got some reservations, yeah, that's what I'll call them, about them personally. As someone with the fattest ass on planet Earth, one so supple it's beyond human comprehension, I had to shrink it down to a more modest size so anybody who sees it doesn't bleed out their eyes from looking at it. I personally do not put a whole lot of stock in this, and it's here that I'd like to end the video. That card I mentioned is on screen. If you want videos and more wiki articles, there is so much strange stuff on there, I could go for days. Subscribe with notifications on, don't go after anyone I talked about. Anyways, this has been Kwite, and I'll see y'all next time.